Dear teachers, welcome to JS in English Learning. We are with Unit 4 of the revised PG-TRB syllabus, and we are beginning a discussion on the very famous dramatic monologue by Robert Browning, Andrea del Sarto. Andrea del Sarto is a dramatic monologue, a form which was actually popularized by Robert Browning. Let me make it very clear. Robert Browning, the Victorian poet, popularized this narrative form called dramatic monologue. He did not invent it. Okay, let me make it very clear. He mastered this form called dramatic monologue. And what is dramatic monologue? Dramatic monologue is a type of poem in which there is two characters. One character is a very active speaking character. The other one is a passive listening character. The active speaking character will be describing the expressions, feelings, and emotions of the passive listening character. So there will be a lot of dramatic elements. When we say drama, you will find that this main speaking character, we call it as an active speaker. This active speaker will be dramatizing whatever is happening around, and he will always try to invite the implied listener or the silent listener to partake in the action. There will be a lot of dramatic references. ரொம்ப டிராமாட்டிக்கா நாடகம் போல இருக்கும். அதுல ஒருத்தர் ரொம்ப ஆக்டிவா இருப்பாரு, இன்னொருத்தர் அப்படியே அங்க இருக்கிறார் அப்படிங்கிறது நமக்கு தெரியும். ஆனா அவரு பேச மாட்டாரு. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபார்ம் தான் dramatic monologue. Now the poem dramatic, that is Andrea del Sarto. Okay, what is Andrea del Sarto? What do we know about it? When was it published? Those details are very, very important. Okay, when was it published? அப்படிங்க கேட்டீங்கன்னா Andrea del Sarto, the title, okay, the title Andrea del Sarto comes with an alternate title, The Faultless Painter. This is about an Italian painter who was given the title. என்ன title அப்படின்னா, he is a faultless painter. He cannot commit mistake. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பயங்கரமான ஒரு Renaissance artist is this man. Who is the man? Andrea del Sarto. Right. When was this poem written? I'll come back to Andrea del Sarto, the Italian Renaissance painter. This poem was published in the year 1855. Okay, this poem was published in 1855 in a poetry collection titled Men and Women. This is the title of a poetry collection titled Men and Women, and the poem Andrea del Sarto, which also has another title called The Faultless Painter. It appeared in a poetry collection called Men and Women, published in 1855. Now, let's get to know something about the writer, Robert Browning. Robert Browning is a Victorian poet, a man who lived between 1812 to 1889, a Victorian poet who mastered this poetry form called dramatic monologue. It's a narrative type. And this particular dramatic monologue is a framework which is used by Robert Browning to explore complex characters and the psychological depths of the character. ரொம்ப காம்ப்ளெக்ஸான ஒரு கேரக்டர், அந்த கேரக்டருடைய சைக்காலஜி, மென்டல் ஆட்டிடியூட், அதை பத்தி எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோர் பண்றதுக்காகவே இந்த டிராமாட்டிக் மோனோலாக அவர் பயன்படுத்தி இருக்கிறாரு. இந்த ஒரு டிராமாட்டிக் மோனோலாக்ல என்ன இருக்கும்னு ஏற்கனவே சொல்லிட்டோம். என்ன அப்படின்னா, there will be a single active speaker, however there will be a passive listener, and most often all these dramatic monologues they focus on a controversial or morally ambiguous situation. ஒரு controversial situation present பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க, அல்லது there will be an ambiguous situation in the sense a situation which can mean more than one thing. But our story, Andrea Del Sarto is talking to the lady, but the lady is actually by the side of the window, and she is very keen in leaving Andrea Del Sarto and moving away with another man. But the man is pleading her, please stay and pose for one last painting. அப்படின்னு அவர் கெஞ்சிக்கிட்டு இருப்பாரு. இந்த சிச்சுவேஷன் நமக்கு பார்க்கும்போதே கொஞ்சம் என்னையா அந்த மாதிரியா நீ போய் ஒரு லேடிக்கு பின்னாடி போறது அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு சிச்சுவேஷன் இருந்தாலும் he thinks that she is the ideal model for his painting. And he says, even I'm ready to give away all the paintings to help your cousin. Okay. But please stay with me only one night. Tomorrow you can go. அதுதான் அங்க implied. அப்ப it raises moral questions. Now, coming to the other poems, there are many other poems which Robert Browning has written, but the most popular ones that I'm taking up in My Last Duchess, then you have a very famous story which was actually a poem, The Pied Piper of Hamelin. You would have read about it in the form of a prose. There was a piper, and the piper was actually invited by by a village which was infested with rat, and the piper agreed to drive away or take away the rats from the village and drown them in the nearby river. He did it, but the people did not want to pay him. What did the piper do? The Pied Piper of Hamelin. He played another tune, and all the children ran away, ran behind the man, and he disappeared in the mountain area, and the children were no more to be found by the parents. அது ஒரு அழகான ஒரு போயம். அதுக்கப்புறம் Men and Women and the Collection. Then you have The Ring and the Book and Dramatis Personae. All these have appeared in NET exam. All these have appeared in NET exam. Are you there with me, teachers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All these have appeared in NET exam as questions several times. So kindly follow all these works. Then come down to some other informations. When we think about Robert Browning, we should also think about Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Why Elizabeth Barrett Browning? Because she is the wife of this great poet, and she herself was a poet. Elizabeth Barrett Browning was a wife. Again, a literary figure. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, who lived between 1846 to 1861. I think there is a little error there. Okay, let's check out. Okay, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Now coming to the first work, the first published work of Robert Browning was Pauline, a fragment of a confession in 1833. And coming to speak about the other important elements, the competitive exam information. Robert Browning, his writing style has influenced some of the modernist writers. T.S. Eliot was influenced by Robert Browning's writing style, and his way of looking at the psychology of the character. T.S. Eliot. Then Ezra Pound, the Imagist poet, and the friend of T.S. Eliot. And then Robert Frost. Robert Frost is called. What is the title normally awarded to Robert Frost? He is popularly known as the nature poet of America, a man who takes very simple things in life and philosophizes. சாதாரண விஷயத்தை எடுத்து அதை வச்சு ஒரு பெரிய வாழ்க்கை தத்துவத்தை சொல்லி கொடுக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு ரைட்டர் வந்து ராபர்ட் ஃப்ராஸ்ட். இவங்க எல்லாருக்குமே ஒரு பெரிய சோர்ஸ் ஆஃப் இன்ஸ்பிரேஷனா இருந்தவர் ராபர்ட் ப்ரௌனிங். தென் this was again a net question 3 to 4 times. என்ன அப்படின்னா, the collection Bells and Pomegranates was authored by Dashnu கேட்டிருந்தாங்க நெட்ல. Who is the author அப்படின்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா, the author is Robert Browning. From 1841 to 1846, there were 8 separate pamphlets which he wrote. சின்ன சின்ன துண்டு காகிதமா எழுதியிருந்தாரு. அது எல்லாமே ஒரு கலெக்ஷனா பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணாரு. And then he fell in love with Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And Elizabeth Barrett Browning was a very rich lady. And fearing the wrath of the father of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, he eloped away with Elizabeth Barrett Browning. In September 1846, ஓடி போய் திருமணம் பண்ணாங்க. எங்க ஓடினாங்க அப்படின்னா, they went to Italy and they settled there. Okay, so how did he come to know about Elizabeth Barrett? அப்படின்னா, in 1845, Robert Browning met Elizabeth Barrett Browning in one of the literary circles, and both of them were poets. So there was a spark, and both of them fell in love. And it was very interesting. என்ன அப்படின்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா, Elizabeth Barrett Browning was 6 years older than Robert Browning. Elizabeth Barrett Browning was how many years older?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years. Okay, and it was she who introduced him to great writers. Who introduced Robert Browning to great writers of her time? Who are the writers she introduced? Look at that. She introduced him to famous writers like William Wordsworth, Lord Alfred Tennyson, and she also promoted his poetry on par with all these writers. Did you get that, teachers?
Yes, sir.
So she played a very important role in making this man great. So when is this lady? 1806. Okay, she lived between 1806 to 1861. Let's get to know one more information about that. After elopement, Italy is a very big land mass. அந்த land massல particular எந்த provinceல இருந்தாங்க அப்படின்னு question வரலாம். They resided in Florence. Okay, they resided in Florence, and there they faced with a lot of financial challenges, and there was also some tragic element. என்ன அப்படின்னா, Barrett Browning became very sickly because there was a spinal injury, and most of the time she spent time in the bed. She was bedridden, but Robert Browning was a very nice husband. He took care of his lady love, his wife, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And Elizabeth Barrett Browning should be remembered. Why? Because she was a very big critique of industrial England. Okay, Elizabeth Barrett Browning was a very big critique of industrial England. Did you get that, teachers?
Yes, sir.
இதெல்லாம் நெட்ல அடிக்கடி கேட்டுட்டே இருக்கிறாங்க. So get to know that. Okay, she also authored a very famous poem. What is the name of the poem? The name of the poem is The Chimney Sweeper. That's a very beautiful poem, very moving poem, I would say. So just remember that poem. They may ask you. The Chimney Sweeper is a poem which was authored by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Okay, and she was a wife of Robert Browning. And there is yet another thing which often asked in competitive exam. என்ன அப்படின்னா, Elizabeth Barrett Browning actually wrote several love poems to Robert Browning while they were courting each other. They were 1 year long courtship, and during the time she wrote very many poems, sonnets particularly, which were compiled in the title called Sonnets from Portuguese, published in the year 1850. One of the beautiful love sonnet. Okay, so she is also a sonneteer. Okay, now getting back to the title. What is the title? Andrea del Sarto. Who is Andrea del Sarto? அப்படின்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா, he is a Renaissance painter. He is a Renaissance painter. Are you there with me, teachers? When we say
Yes, sir.
Renaissance painters, he is a Renaissance painter. Who are the other famous Renaissance painters? Famous Renaissance painters. Whose name do you remember? Who are the famous Renaissance painters? Immediately you are reminded of a few names. Michelangelo, Raphael, then Leonardo da Vinci. Hey, these are the famous Renaissance painters. I'm putting all these names here. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. Hey, we have a famous painting by all these people. After the class, maybe you need to look into a few of these writers at least. And you need to go and find out what are the famous paintings. When we speak about Madonna, then we have to also include Raphael here. Raphael who drew the Madonna. Madonna painting, Madonna அப்படிங்கிறது ரொம்ப ஃபேமஸான பெயிண்டிங். Michelangelo, what is he famous for?
Master Supper.
Yes. Yes, Adam, somebody was trying to say something. The Sistine Chapel painting. Have you heard of the Sistine Chapel? Okay, the Pope's Chapel. Okay, yeah, it's called Sistine Chapel. Pope's personal chapel is called Sistine Chapel, and the painting was actually done by Michelangelo. Okay, what is the painting actually? The Last Supper painting, is it so? The creator of Adam, that's the painting. What is the painting? Make a note of it. The creation of Adam. And there will be two hands coming like that. One, God the Father, the other one is a man. You find that the man is completely naked and he is putting the hand, and from the sky there is another man with a long beard. Okay, that painting was done by Michelangelo. Okay, what is Leonardo da Vinci known for? Okay, Leonardo da Vinci, he is known for the Annunciation painting. What is he known for?
Annunciation painting.
Annunciation painting. The second painting is a very famous painting, Mona Lisa painting. Mona Lisa painting, very famous painting. And the third one is Last Supper painting. Last Supper of Jesus Christ. From there, you have a very famous movie, Dan Brown's movie. What is the movie? Da Vinci Code. They said the painting itself is a code. Okay. Da Vinci Code. Hey, these are the names you need to remember because these are Renaissance artists, and these names are mentioned in Hudson's book also. When you speak about Renaissance, there is a chapter on Renaissance and Reformation, and when they speak about Renaissance painters, Hudson makes a note about all these writers, and he says all these writers are great people because they popularized a thought called humanism. Humanism as a thought, as a philosophy, was propagated by all these painters. Much importance was given to the man. Earlier, prior to all these painters, okay, you will find only God was the center. But slowly, the focus was on man. Right? Shall we proceed, teachers?
Yes, sir.
Andrea del Sarto, the hero of the poem, was a contemporary of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and Raphael. He was a contemporary, and he was also a talented painter like them. But there was a little problem with this man. We will come to know about it in the poem. Now, Andrea del Sarto, what is he known for? அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, Del Sarto, you will find his name as Del Sarto in many books and web pages. What is he known for? அப்படின்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா, he modified Leonardo da Vinci's what is a painting technique called fumato technique. There was a technique which was adopted by Leonardo da Vinci. It's called sfumato technique. And what did he do? He modified the technique by introducing a warm and a vivid range of colors into his palette. Palette na color mixing plate. இவர் என்ன பண்ணாரு, கொஞ்சம் வார்மா, கொஞ்சம் விவிடா, பயங்கரமான நிறைய கலர்ஸ் எல்லாம் கொடுத்து he gave life to the canvas. It is called manneristic style. The style of Andrea del Sarto is called manneristic style. Are you there with me, teachers? இவருடைய ஸ்டைல கொஞ்சம் அவங்க ஸ்டைல காட்டிலும் ரொம்ப ரிச்சாவே இருந்தது. பட் இவர்கிட்ட ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் இருந்தது. அந்த ப்ராப்ளம் என்ன அப்படின்னு பின்னாடி நம்ம சொல்லுவோம். Now, he was also very popular because Da Vinci was the one who drew the Last Supper painting in a particular church. Okay? And this man also drew Last Supper painting. Where? At San Salvi Monastery. Okay, San Salvi Monastery அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு டேட்டா இருக்கு. And while speaking about the painting done by Andrea del Sarto, okay, there was a very famous art commentator by name Giorgio Vasari. The name is also used in the poem Andrea del Sarto. Vasari, Vasari அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு ஆர்ட் கிரிட்டிக் இருக்காரு, who lived between 1511 to 1574. And he commented on the Last Supper painting done by Andrea del Sarto, telling that Andrea del Sarto gave such infinite grace, grandeur, and majesty to all the figures there. பயங்கரமா கிரேஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருந்தது, கிராண்டா இருந்தது, மெஜஸ்டிக்காவும் இருந்தது. யாருடைய பெயிண்டிங்கை காட்டிலும், லியோனார்டோ டாவின்சியுடைய பெயிண்டிங்கை காட்டிலும் ஆண்ட்ரியா டெல் சார்ட்டோவுடைய பெயிண்டிங்ல கிரேஸ் இருந்தது, கிராண்டர் இருந்தது, மெஜஸ்டி இருந்ததுன்னு யார் சொன்னா? ஜார்ஜியோ வாசாரி stated. And other than that, he has also done many other painting, and I have given it here. Okay, then who introduced Andrea del Sarto to Vasari அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு கொஸ்டின் இருக்கு. And the person is Michelangelo. Who introduced Andrea del Sarto to Vasari?
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo himself. Yeah, such a great painter. அவர் என்ன சொன்னாரு, you just meet this fellow அப்படின்னு இவர் introduce பண்ணாரு. And Vasari என்ன பண்ணாரு, was very much influenced by Andrea del Sarto's discipline and his painting. So he described him as senza eroi. Okay, senza eroni, ERRONI. I think it was not visible here, the last part. Eroni. Okay, senza eroni. Eroni means a person without any error. This is the background of the writer. Now we are getting into the poem. Did you get all these information, teachers? Is there any doubt that you have? All right, we will break and we will restart immediately.